A very good day from South Cambridge in the United Kingdom on the 19th of May 2020 for myself and Des. I'm going to ask you a question. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Let's roll that dodgy intro. Blah, 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 blah. I don't know. It's alright, I suppose. In terms of the question, is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it turns out it was a Starlink train, and this will make sense in just a second. But before that, some sheep, and you voted for this. So I'm going to show you this twice because apparently lamb piggyback racing is a real thing. So yes, on to that point, is it a bird, is it a plane? No, it's a Starlink train. That means that the community on Discord and various other places, the Facebook page, have figured out that the obstructions, those phantom obstructions that kept popping up on our systems, turns out it was satellites. Yeah, so as mad as this seems, the satellite launches when they drift around the world in train mode, there's a chance that they're causing these huge obstructions. One thing is interesting, while I have these speed tests running in the corner, and I'm currently on the previous firmware update, which I shared with you a few days ago. There was an update overnight, and the observation that we've made is that when there's outages, there tends to be an update that follows. And this has held true over the last 4 or 5 updates. So we are currently on this firmware, and it's, don't know how it's going. Somebody said they had it this morning, and they said it was a bit unstable. And it tends to be for the first 12 hours or so that it is relatively unstable, but it does seem to settle down. So I feel really happy that we have solved the obstruction problems, because yesterday I had that downtime and I was sitting in front of my computer and the obstruction came up and said that I was not connected. So what did I do? Of course I filmed it, and I ran outside and filmed my dish to be sure there wasn't anything on the roof, like a large bird or a person or a car. You never know. And above it there was these blue fluffy clouds. So therefore, the theory of something at a much higher altitude, and it won't be a plane, it could be the satellite dishes. Most likely is causing the obstructions. Of course, if you have loads of them going past, it's going to cause intermittent obstructions. So I am satisfied that the phantom obstructions are nothing to do with my setup as it's on the roof. Now, speaking of setup, I read that review the Verge did, and of course people at the Verge are a lot more experienced than I am in terms of technology. But while I was reading it, it did concern me a little bit. It felt really biased towards something, or really unbiased towards Starlink. And I'm going to give you a bit of honesty here. I'm not sponsored by Starlink. And if it was rubbish, I would tell you, and I would go back to FTTC. But honestly, it's great, and I love it. And I set mine up properly, and I use it for everything, for my Slack calls, my Zoom calls, upload, download, streaming, not streaming. And yesterday we had some downtime, and it was the worst day that we've had for a substantial amount of time. The last big outage I had was during that weird thundersnow event, and it's been running great. So I feel that this review was, I don't know. I mean, more than happy to go through it, and I'm more than happy to share my thoughts on it, but I don't know how valid they would be. But I do want to encourage you that if you are considering this as an alternative to FTTC or mobile, or where you don't have FTTP, this is a superb option, and it's only going to get better. So yeah, I'm tempted to go online now and talk about this while I've got the speed test running, but then it could be a long video. Okay, so I've decided it's probably not a good idea to go into that Verge article right now, but one thing I will say is that I felt that it was incredibly negative, and I'll put the link in the description below. From the offset, it's very critical of it, and the chap in there that talks about it, he talks about not being able to make Zoom calls or Slack calls and various other things, and I think when you look at where Starlink is now compared to where it was, yeah, there's some dropouts every day, but it's not as erratic as he says, and I get the feeling that his was not set up properly. And this is not me jumping to the defense of Starlink. I'm not, because as I said, if it was rubbish, I would just get rid of it. I'm not precious towards it. Don't get me wrong, I love it compared to what I had, and I love it as a system, and I like the concept and the idea of it. But I just feel that this article really pushed on the negative too much, and not the reality, like talking about gaming. And I don't know whether he actually played games on it or what, but gaming is alright on it actually, and the ping rates are quite good, and I have showed that in my previous videos. And if my 15-year-old son, who's pretty good on Fortnite, thinks it's alright, well, surely it can't be that bad. So I would say that this article is negative. I'd love to know where the motivation for it has come from. I don't think it gives a fair and balanced view. And I would say that do your research. If you are considering this and this article has put you off, do your research. Ultimately, it's you that has to make the call, and it's down to you whether you want to spend the money. And if you think it's going to be better than what you have, also please do look at my previous videos. I hope that they give you a fair and balanced view of how things run. When Starlink does not run well, trust me, I will talk about it and I'll moan about it and shout about it. But when it runs well, which is actually the majority of the time, I will celebrate that because it means that I can work more efficiently. So I won't go on too much about that anymore. I think it might warrant something else if you want to hear more opinion on this article, or shall we just leave it lie? Let me know in the comments. I don't know whether to go into it. But here's the speed test. I'm going to leave these with you. This is how Starlink was performing yesterday when we had those terrible outages prior to most people, or some people, getting the firmware update. Whatever you're doing for the rest of the day, have a good one, and I will catch you later.